Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ulsil, and I'm just wondering, have you guys heard of the different YouTube challenges that has been going on for years? If I lost all my makeup kind of videos, if I had to choose only this amount of eyeshadow palettes, my ideal eyeshadow palette, my ideal makeup collection, videos like that. I had actually planned to make some of those videos throughout the years because I think those are really fun videos to do and watch. But for me, that has sort of become the reality. And when it's not a pretend kind of situation, it's not as fun. After dealing with a long-term eye infection, where I'm still kind of struggling with the aftermaths, I had to get rid of pretty much all of my eye makeup and a lot of my face makeup as well. So, and it was not a huge amount of makeup, but it was like a good amount of makeup and a good amount of eyeshadow palettes, and I loved all of my eyeshadow palettes, and they were really special to me because, you know, makeup for me is one of my biggest interests and big passions and joy in life, and so that really sucked. But I'm gonna turn this around and make it into something positive, and give myself a fresh start. So that's what I've been planning on doing, and I have now received all of my new palettes. I thought this was a really good opportunity to figure out what kind of eyeshadows I really wanted in my collection. I thought carefully about which shades I was gonna miss the most from my old collection, like some big favorites, which eyeshadows I've been wanting to try for forever, and what kind of eyeshadows that were sort of practical that I could take out of the palettes and customize in a separate palette to make my own kind of palette, because I was not looking to purchase a whole huge eyeshadow collection all over again. Even though I really appreciated all the eyeshadows I had, I've always been through project panning and minimizing, decluttering my collection. I've always wanted, you know, what people call the ideal makeup collection. So even though I was looking for a good variety of eyeshadows, I still just wanted what I really saw myself using and loving. So I focused on trying to pick shades that would suit me, that was wearable, that I knew that I would reach for, not like only once a year, but over and over. And I wanted a good balance between warmer and cooler tones, between different textures and finishes. I knew I wanted to skip the glitter eyeshadows, both because I've never reached for them earlier in palettes, and also because I knew that I had to be careful with my eyes going forward, and putting glitter around my eyes was not the best idea. But I knew I wanted a good variety of matte eyeshadows and metallics, more like silky finishes, and just all of the ones in between. And above all of the other criterias, I needed all of my eyeshadows to be cruelty-free. So in the end, I landed on 4 thoughtfully chosen palettes, and then 2 singles as well. And later on, just recently for my birthday, I received another eyeshadow single. So I'm going to talk about that one as well. I was just thinking in today's video, I wanted to talk about how I chose these shades and why, and just, walk you through the whole process. So, and I also have no makeup on my eyes today because I thought I would do like my first eyeshadow look in a very long time. I have been using a little bit of bronzer and I have tried out the, hold on. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be in this video because this video might be way too long, or I'm going to do a separate video where I do an eyeshadow look and show you my focus eyeshadows for this period of time. But let's move on with which eyeshadows I chose and why. So I really wanted to get this right. So the first thing I did was I wrote a list over all of the eyeshadows I would miss the most within my collection. I wrote down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I wrote down a lot of eyeshadows. There's really two that stood out to me the most, and that is Makeup Geek Luna. Oh my god. I remember as I'm starting to read this list again, I remember, oh yeah, I really wanted that one. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't swatched one of the eyeshadows yet that I received. There were so many shades I knew I was gonna miss. And then a metallic gold shade from Inglot, the one I was trying to hit pan on for ages. It was number 155. I wanted to find a gold tone like that. Most of all, my preferred shades are warmer browns and golds, taupes in different textures, and mauves, and like lavender shades. So I knew that those were the kinds of shades I wanted the most of in my collection. So I was pretty set on choosing one of the Viseart palettes, the Petite Cool Mattes, because they would cover the grays, the lavender shades, the cool browns, and the white. And then I could just add with colors from ColourPop singles or something like that. But as I was going through this process, I remembered I had a dupe for the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette, and that was probably like one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes, and a palette where I loved all of the shades. And I thought to myself that if this wasn't the time that I would allow myself to purchase the actual original palette, then I don't know when I would ever purchase it. So I did decide to purchase the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz, and as soon as I did that, I knew I have made the right decision. Look at how beautiful this palette is. And all of these palettes are not new on the market or anything. These are palettes that I have been looking at for a long time. I've been looking at reviews, and I've had on my wish list like forever, most of them. But this is what it looks like, and before making this video I thought, well, I could do like a review of the palette, to have a little swatch party. I mean, that's one of my favorite things to do, is to swatch eyeshadows and just play around with them. But also, I knew about my health challenges, and I have been so scared of sort of damaging these with another potential infection. Also, I have a question. Do you guys have like problems with opening and closing this palette? I feel like I'm about to break the palette every time I try to close it. But yeah, where was I? Yeah, so as much as I want to show you all the swatches, I'm going to try to find swatches online, by the way, but I will not stick my fingers into all of these eyeshadows just because I'm scared that I might have to end up throwing everything away all over again. So I don't want to make the same mistake twice. That kind of leads me to how I'm gonna do my project pans and things moving forward as well, but more of that in a different video. I think this is gonna be so long. So anyways, here we have a lot of the shades that I've been looking at, you know, more like cooler lavender shades, and then some warmer browns. And I knew that I really loved the dupe for this, so I knew I was gonna love this palette too. So I cannot wait to use this. But this is the only palette I purchased that isn't where I'm not able to take out the eyeshadows, unfortunately. It's just that I really, really wanted this palette, so I allowed myself to purchase this one. But with all of the other ones, I can use them to customize a new own palette. As I decided to purchase the Rose Quartz palette, I realized that, well, some of the shades that are in that palette kind of fulfills the need of some of the shades that I was looking at in the Viseart palettes. So I wouldn't have to purchase all of them, but maybe, you know, I was in that kind of process. And then I thought, well, what other palette has been high up on my wish list for a long time? What other palette would really contain a lot of the shades that I am looking for now, or shades I really want to try, or that would potentially replace some of those Viseart palettes. So I kind of came up with my next palette, which is the Natasha Denona Retro Glam palette. And I know this has some mixed reviews. Like some people think that this is a little bit boring, like you can't make too many looks. It's maybe chalky. Some people say it's chalky. I have no idea because, again, I haven't swatched these, but I think that these shades look absolutely stunning. They look so pretty, and pretty much all of the shades I had on my list that I wanted to include in my collection are here. We're going to go through my actual list of eyeshadows within my ideal eyeshadow collection or palette as well, and see if we have kind of covered it all in the end. But yeah, I think all of these eyeshadows look so pretty. So I'm super excited and very happy that I decided to purchase this one. But again, both of these palettes are on the more expensive side, so it wasn't an easy decision for me, but also the fact that it's possible to take out the eyeshadows here for a customizable palette also kind of drew me to this palette. So I'm overall very happy with my decision on purchasing this one. And again, I'm such a sucker for packaging. This is so pretty. Oh. Next, I guess I looked through my old eyeshadow collection, and I asked myself, like, what are the eyeshadows or the brand I have purchased from the most, and why? What sort of eyeshadows am I the most happy about? And the answer to those questions were ColourPop. ColourPop is cruelty-free, pretty affordable, and I have had several palettes and I've been very pleased with all of them, except from some of the glitters that has been in some of my palettes I just haven't reached for. But other than that, they're fairly consistent within the palettes that I've tried from them. So I did decide to purchase a palette from ColourPop, and this has also mixed reviews, so I'm very curious about this one. This is the Stone Cold Fox palette, and this is a bigger one, so I was a little bit hesitant because I feel like it's a little bit big and bulky, but again, you can take out the eyeshadows and make your own palette. So, and all of these shades look just stunning, right up my alley, exactly the kind of shades that I typically reach for on a daily basis. And you can, a lot of these metallics I think you can use to make a more glam look. And even though I've watched so many videos, people swatching these, and I do think that some of these shades don't have the best quality, but overall they seem pretty good. So it's going to be interesting to get to know them for myself. Now, even though most of these look very like neutral and almost a little bit boring looking, if you really look into this palette, you see that this has more like it has more of a movie row. There's a warmer row, a more cool row, a more neutral row, and we have some grays over here. Like, there is a good variety, I feel like. And if I mix these with some of the more colorful eyeshadows that I have, I think it's going to be perfect. So very, very excited about this palette too. And then I thought, okay, I had to stop myself a little bit, because if I purchase more and more like already made palettes, I was afraid that I would get a bunch of shades that I don't really reach for, that I buy a palette just for one or two shades, and I really didn't want to do that. So all of these 3 shades, I felt like all of the shades were shades that I would like and reach for, but there was still some shades missing in my collection that I wasn't able to find in those 3 eyeshadows. So I thought, okay, I think I'm just gonna make a customizable palette on my own. I've been really happy with Inglot Freedom System palette previously, but I was kind of ready to try something new as well. And then I also looked into the eyeshadow singles from ColourPop and thought maybe I can find whatever it is that I am lacking within ColourPop. But I found that they didn't really have exactly the kind of shades I was looking for. I found a few, but I felt like, no, this isn't the place to look for me. I did end up purchasing 2 singles from ColourPop, which I'm going to talk about last, but I did end up making my own palette from Lethal Cosmetics, and that I'm never going to do that again, just because I'm from Norway and it was so expensive purchasing and getting those eyeshadows shipped to Norway. So that's once in a lifetime kind of thing for me, but I did it. It arrived. I still haven't like made my palette yet. I thought I would do that with you. And the main reason why I decided on Lethal Cosmetics is they are cruelty free, but I have seen several of my favorite YouTubers, like Sarah Rose for instance, talk really positively and warm about these eyeshadows, and I was really impressed with their website as well, because it was so hard for me to decide on an eyeshadow, but with all those really, really beautiful both videos and pictures of each eyeshadows with swatches and really good information about each and every one of the shadows that they were selling, it was so much easier to make a decision. By the way, if you guys are wondering, I'm not sponsored by any company or brand here, so anything positive I ever say about anything is from me and my honest opinion. So here we are. Did decide on, I think this is the middle size. I'm not sure actually. I think you can get maybe a 9-pan palette and maybe a quad or something, or maybe a palette that's even bigger than this one. I wonder if they have like a 20 pan palette or something, but this is a 12 pan palette, and I thought that this is more than big enough. It's like pretty much the size of the other palettes, um, but still quite smaller than the Stone Cold Fox palette. For me, to me, it looks very similar to kind of like the quality of a C palette or a ColourPop palette. It is cardboard. It does have a mirror, and I love that they have these little holes in them, so it's really easy to take in and out an eyeshadow. And then we have the eyeshadows right here. So I do kind of have a plan. So let me just show you each eyeshadow, and I'll just put them in the palette as we speak. All right, so they are packaged like this. And this first one is called Decent. So this is a lavender with silver highlights and a metallic finish. Also, I love the fact that the name is in the back, so I never have to wonder what the shade name is. So I believe this is my one and only duochrome that I decided to purchase. This is called Synth, and this is a lilac mint duochrome with a metallic finish. So I do wonder if these two first shades are way too similar, but I was just so um, curious about those duochromes that I just had to get both. And I just knew that these two shades were the kinds of shades that I reach for a lot, and they would replace 3 of my most used metallic lavender shades that I had in my old collection. We have another purple or lavender shade. This time it's a matte. This one is called Wisteria, and this is a medium toned lavender with a matte finish is what it says. And then again, you might think I don't need another matte lavender when I have that one, but I feel like I do because I really like those kinds of shades. So I went for a fourth shade of a lavender, and again, it's a matte, and this is called Release, which is a dusty lilac with a matte finish. And hopefully these are not going to be like these two shades are not going to be exactly the same, and these two shades are not going to be exactly the same. I cannot wait to try these. They all look so beautiful. I love them already. So that is my first row with pretty much just lilac shades, and I'm really happy with the decision of having a little bit of a variety of lilac shades just because I love them so much, and there really isn't any other lilac shades in my collection. And I think that if you know that there are shades you are really drawn towards, like for me, lilac and taupe, there's so many taupes that are in the Stone Cold Fox palette, and I think it's great to have a variety of things, of eyeshadows that you know you're gonna reach for. But there's no reason for me to have like 10 different reds if it's only like one type of red I reach for, and I don't reach for it all that often, but I do want one in my collection. So for that reason, for me, I have one, maybe two that I could kind of put in the red category within my collection now. But we'll talk about more of the shades as a whole a little bit later. I'm really getting way ahead of myself here. Okay, this is one I'm a little bit curious about because this is a matte mustard is what it's described at. It is called Esteem, and I really wanted a matte mustard, but I'm just wondering if this is more brown than yellow, because I want it to look yellow, like mustard yellow, but it's really hard to tell. And then on the swatches, I feel like it is the exact shade I want, but we'll see. I am so excited about this shade. This is called Frantic, and it is a matte blood red. And it's not typically a shade that I would go for very often, but I learned from one of my project pans earlier. I rolled in a matte, like deep red eyeshadow from Inglot, one that I never reached for, and I kind of forced myself to make some eyeshadow looks with it, and it turned out I really enjoy deep red eyeshadows, just like a little bit to kind of warm up the eyeshadow look, and that's what I'm kind of hoping that this would be. Then I know I have a lot of minty shades in the Retro Glam palette from Natasha Denona, but none of them were really leaning more blue. They were more like greenish turquoise, but I wanted a turquoise shade that has a lot more blue in it. So I'm curious about this one. I'm hoping that this is more pastel turquoise and not really super pigmented and strong pastel. So we'll see. But this is called Yonder, and it is a matte medium toned turquoise. I'm sorry if you've been listening to nature sounds in the background with some cars here and there. I forgot to close my window before starting the video, so I'm really sorry about that. Alright, so again, not many yellows in the other palettes, so even though I did purchase mustard yellow, I wanted more of a yellow. And so I purchased Helios, which is described as a matte pineapple yellow. Then there's a bunch of beautiful, exactly the kind of green shades I really want in my mini retro. No, not mini. I'm so used to saying mini retro because I did have the mini retro in my old collection. Retro Glam palette, but those again, those are more cool tone, minty, mossy green looking, which I love. I love those kind of muted, cooler greens. But I also just wanted one matte, more foresty green shade. I didn't want a huge variety, I just wanted one shade. And so I got this shade called Habitat, which is still kind of a moss green. It is described as a matte moss green, but I feel like it's a little bit darker and it is leaning a little bit more on the warmer side. I don't know how to describe this, but it just was the exact shade of green I was looking for that I felt like I was lacking within the Retro Glam palette. Oh my god, this palette is looking so beautiful right now. I'm so excited. This is my favorite day this year. Just saying. And it's all because of eyeshadows. Okay, next shade is called, this is called Spawn. And this one, I don't know. I kind of wonder what happened here because on the website, they have a beautiful swatch of exactly the shade I kind of wanted, which was a burnt orange, matte burnt orange. And I mean, this is the same shade. It is called Spawn, but to me, this looks like more of a terracotta to me. So I don't know. I don't know. Also, because I was really missing Cocoa Bear from Makeup Geek, which is like a warm, chocolatey brown shade, I didn't feel like I got that type of shade in the other palettes. So I was thinking maybe either this one or the Frantic shade, the kind of matte blood red shade. Either combined or one of them would be a good replacement for the Cocoa Bear. But I could be wrong, so we'll see. Okay, only 2 shades left, and these 2 are both metallics. Oh, I just realized that as I am removing the eyeshadow pan, it says, "This is the beginning of something great." Totally agree. I don't know how you pronounce this eyeshadow. I think it's Defiance. I don't even know what it means. I have to check that word up after. But this is an intense metallic copper shade. And lastly, this is Symbiosis. And this is a metallic bronze. So pretty. I want to try all of the eyeshadows all at once, but I can't. So I thought I would pick one eyeshadow, maybe two from one of the eyeshadow palettes. One eyeshadow from each palette and make my own palette from that is going to be my focus palette for the next few days, weeks, months. I don't know how long I'm going to use it, but I think that way I am able to have full control of which eyeshadows I use at what time. And so if, knock on wood, I don't want that to happen, but if I get the infection back, I know I only have to maybe like throw out 5 eyeshadows instead of my entire eyeshadow collection again. So I guess I was thinking about doing a separate video, but I don't think I am. I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna make new sort of project pan, not pan really, but project use now that will allow me to try out every single eyeshadow I have in my collection, but in a controllable way, like I just said. So only focusing on a few shades at a time, but mixing from all the different palettes makes me get to know all the shades, but also do that in a fun way. So I think there's a challenge called No Pan Left Behind. So I think I can kind of categorize this project within that project. I guess that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, and I just created my Lethal palette. I am so happy with this. I think most of my warm eyeshadows are in here, except from the top row that has all of my like lilac-y lavender shades. I'm so happy. But I also have 3 single eyeshadows that I wanted to show you because I did choose 2 ColourPop eyeshadows, and then I'm going to go and get my birthday gift, which is also a single eyeshadow, but that one is from Kiko. So the first one that I chose from ColourPop is, I don't know if these are fails to be honest, because they both look like shades that are already in my Lethal Cosmetics palette, but I was just kind of trying to find the perfect gold shade and I didn't feel like I had it within the palettes that I have this far. So I decided to purchase this one. I don't even know what it says. Is it Diego? Metallic Pressed Powder Diego, I think it's the shade name. So this is what that one looks like. It is beautiful, but I'm not sure if it is a dupe for that Inglot eyeshadow. It is beautiful though, but it is very, very similar to this eyeshadow right here. If you look at them side by side, they are very similar. So, I mean, even really trying to do good research, I still looks like I end up having duplicates or very similar colors in my collection, which was not a goal, but here we are. And the other shade is also very similar to one or even 2 of the shades in my Lethal Cosmetics palette. This is called Earth Shine, and I kind of was looking for a shade to replace Makeup Geek Luna, but I don't think this is looking at all like Luna. So I think I failed. It was very difficult to find a dupe for Luna. I looked at Simptalia.com so many times to end this process, but finding a dupe for Luna was just impossible. If you have a suggestion there, I would love to hear. But I still think this is a beautiful shade, so I think I'm going to use it. It's just not exactly what I was hoping for. And lastly, let me go and get my birthday eyeshadow. This is the Kiko Lumiverse Water eyeshadow, limited edition in #1 Champagne Eclipse. So the thing, first of all, the packaging is absolutely gorgeous. Look at that. That is so beautiful. I have used this, I believe I've used it 3 times very carefully. Still haven't swatched it. I've actually scraped out a little bit on a palette and then tried it out like that because I've been so scared of collecting germs within my eyeshadows. But it looks beautiful, and it is beautiful. But they had said, because my original wish was to get the Kiko Water eyeshadow number 200, and I think the shade name is something about champagne, but this is more, that the original was more of a taupey shade, whilst this is more of a champagne with a lot of pink in it, which is still beautiful, but they kind of tricked my sister into thinking that this was a dupe for the original water eyeshadow in 200, which it is not. So, but I think this is still a beautiful eyeshadow. So that is 1 out of the 3 eyeshadow singles that I have. So, all in all, I have 78 eyeshadows now in my eyeshadow collection, which still sounds like so much eyeshadow, but I had, I think, over 200 eyeshadows previously, so it's a lot smaller than I used to have. So also, before we move on, I just want to mention some of the eyeshadow palettes that I was thinking about maybe purchasing. So both Makeup Revolution and MUA had colorful, beautiful eyeshadow palettes. Also, Beauty Bay had some beautiful, colorful eyeshadow palettes, and I was thinking about purchasing something similar to the Beauty Bay palette I had from them previously, like a matte, colorful, small eyeshadow palette. But then again, I thought, like, what colorful or colors would I actually need in addition to the ones that I already have? And I wasn't really missing any. The ones that I was missing, like the turquoise and the yellow and purples, like lavender shades, I got in the Lethal palette. I was also thinking about 1 or 2 of these Sigma Beauty palettes, like, for instance, Ambiance, or a quad called Creme Brulee. Again, Makeup Academy had a palette called Shades Illusionist. I also looked at Alter Ego because they have so many beautiful dupes of really popular eyeshadow palettes. But again, I fell back on wanting to, for once, try the actual original palette. So I am really glad I did, but I do think there are some beautiful dupes out there. I looked at other ColourPop eyeshadow palettes before landing on the Stone Cold Fox palette, like Off Quartz, the Going Coconuts, Lavish, Sage the Day, That's Taupe, Best Day Ever was a beautiful palette. So I did look at so many alternatives before I finally landed on these ones. Also very hard to choose the eyeshadows for the Lethal palette. There were so many beautiful eyeshadows on their website. Sarah Rose and many other YouTubers has also raved about the Nomad Cosmetics palettes, and I was specifically looking at Chicago Speakeasy because that contained, like, almost half of the palette was all these beautiful lavender lilac shades that were just exactly what I was looking for. And they did have a few greens and some reddish dark brown shades, but again, they weren't exactly the perfect shades of greens. And I also thought, I want to go with the Lethal one. So we'll see if I made the wrong decision there, but also the fact that Lethal is customizable, you can take out the eyeshadows, kind of made it for me. I don't think you can do that with Nomad, but I'm not sure. Odin's Eye also had so many palettes that I've been really eyeing from their brand. The Rosy Jingle palette I was looking at, I don't think it's very popular, but I thought all of the shades there were really fun and beautiful. But yeah, I landed on these 4 eyeshadows and I'm really happy I did. So far I haven't regretted anything, but we'll see as I get to know these eyeshadows. And my point or my plan is to have this focused palette, work on it. I will track my uses. I will really get to know those eyeshadows, and then after a while, I'm not gonna limit myself there and say like within a month or so. I just have to like feel it out. Whenever I feel like it's right for me, I'm gonna do an update, talk about the eyeshadows that I had in my palette, how I feel about them, the quality, the actual shades, if I regret purchasing any of them, or if like I would buy them if they weren't in a palette kind of thing. And show you maybe some looks from that period of time, and then I will choose some new focus shades. So I think that's how I'm going to do my sort of No Pan Left Behind project, and also that's how I'm going to get to know these eyeshadows in my new collection. So I hope that's something you want to see. If you have any suggestions on how I could do this differently or better, I would love to hear that. Before we move on to doing the actual eyeshadow look, I just want to analyze my eyeshadows, the ones that I have now within my collection, and kind of compare them to my ideal eyeshadows or eyeshadow collection list of eyeshadow shades, and see did I kind of reach my goals there with what kind of eyeshadows I wanted in my collection. I just gathered all of my eyeshadows that I now have in my collection, and I have my little list, and also I have written down all of my eyeshadows now with descriptions and room for me to track all of them. So it's just going to be easier for me to see what works together and all of that. And so let's just begin. Okay, my ideal eyeshadow collection. So I've categorized into 4 categories: cool shades, warm shades, colors, and neutrals. So if we start with the neutrals, I have written down a matte black. I only have this matte black, and that's plenty. I have a white. That's pretty much the only white I have. Then it says like a skin tone color for me would be, I think this might, oh, it's magnetic, of course. Okay, forget about it. I'll use my, my pointy finger. I think this is a little bit too dark to say it's a skin color, but it's very close. This is probably the closest to that shade, but again, this one may be. So I have a few to choose from there. Neutral light brown. We have plenty of neutral light browns within this palette, so that's great. And then I've written down a like satin champagne shade. Mainly I was thinking about using that for my inner corner. So basically I need a few varieties of inner corner highlights. So we have that here. Here maybe, this is like a greenish shade, but I think this would go great as an inner corner highlight. Maybe some of these shades, and then this one. So we do have some options there. And then let's move on to cool shades. So matte taupes, again, we have a good variety in the Stone Cold Fox palette. We have a few shades here that would go within that category. Then metallic taupe, again, same thing. Lots of taupes to choose from. This I would say is a taupe. There's a taupe here. Maybe this one. And taupe is again one of my favorite shades, so I love that I have a good variety of that. And then I have written down a matte lavender and a metallic lavender, and I kind of covered my lavender section over here. There is a few tones over here that would go under that category maybe. Like this would be like a lilac-y shade. For my final must-have cool shade, I've written down matte gray, and I feel like this looks like the perfect matte gray shade, so I'm so excited to try this one. Let's see, warm shades, we have metallic gold, and this is maybe the one that I've struggled the most with. Again, I don't know if I failed with this one. Maybe we have a golden shade over here. Really don't think I have a great selection of golds, but if I just had one really beautiful gold shade, I would be very happy. So we'll see when I try this one out. Then as well as bronze, metallic bronze and copper, I feel like I've covered those shades here, but I do think I have a few candidates over here as well. Then matte dark brown. We have some browns here, sort of, but they're also put in different categories like yellow, red, and orange. But they're still within the brown category, I would say, that are on the warm side. There is a few warmer shades in this palette and also in this palette. Then metallic rose gold. I was kind of thinking of the Makeup Geek Luna. I also had some other rose gold shades in my previous collection that I really loved. I'm not sure. I have a shade called Ghost Town that's described as a rosy mauve, which is this one. This is kind of a rosy mauve. This is kind of a rosy mauve. I have a few here that I would call a rosy mauve. And then matte mauve is, I have a good variety of here and a few like mauvey-ish shades in here. And those were all the warm shades. And then lastly for colors, I wanted a matte yellow, which I've chosen within the Lethal palette. A matte orange, that was this one, but I do feel like this might have been a little bit of a fail. I was kind of looking for a brighter, like burnt, more of a brighter orange than this one. Then I wanted a matte red, which I feel like this is like the perfect matte red that I wanted. I also have a, I don't know if you can see, I have a red shade right here as well, which I'm really curious about. I don't know if I'm gonna love this or not, but I'm really happy that it exists within my collection. And then we have matte sage green, and I feel like all of the sage greens that I would ever need is in this palette. I love that. Metallic light cool green, again, I think I can do great with some of these greens. And then the last shade I have written down is a matte pastel turquoise, which is this one that I have chosen. This is very similar to that one in a way, but I feel like this has, again, more blue and these shades have more green in them. So yeah, I feel like I've covered all my wishes for an ideal eyeshadow collection. I think I'm ready now to make a focus palette. So I'm gonna go and clean up one of my C palettes or one of my empty palettes, and then choose some shades that I want to get to know a little bit better. All right, so I feel like I want to choose some of the shades I'm the most curious about, but also I want them to be a little bit fall appropriate, and I want them to go together. Like I could do a random selection with my Tiny Decisions app or something, but at least for this time around I want to make the decision myself. So let's see. I kind of really want to try some of these lilac-y shades, but I feel like they're more summer appropriate. Well, I guess you can mix some of them, but I'm really curious about this red shade. I think I'm gonna choose that one actually. This really old C palette, it has lots of stains, but I have cleaned it now with alcohol, so I hope it's good. So that one was called Flare, and it is described as a warm metallic medium red. What would go good with that one? I think I want to try, I think this would go nice. I think these are gorgeous. I also want to try the Diego shade, and I want to pair those only two red shades I have with each other to see if they work together. I want to try more shades I want to try the green and the yellow as well. I think this would be really nice as an inner corner shade, even though it's not like a metallic highlight. I think that would be pretty. I don't know if all of these ones go together all at once, but I think these are the ones I want to play with. I really want to try out this palette as well, but I think for now I'm going to wait a little bit and then just work on these ones. So we have the warm mid-tone gold, Diego from ColourPop. Then from Stone Cold Fox, Play It Cool. It's described as a warm matte dark rosy brown with pink specks. Then from Natasha Denona Retro Glam palette, we have Flare, which is a warm metallic medium red. And then I am forgetting these shades. Helios, matte yellow. The matte blood red is called Frantic. And lastly, the matte mossy green shade is Habitat. So I'm going to do a quick makeup look using these, and then that would be the end of the video. So that was all about my new eyeshadow collection, rebuilt with a lot of thought and care. And so yeah, I'm so happy with these picks, and it honestly feels great now to have a collection that's not just beautiful but also practical and cruelty-free. So if you ever had to declutter your makeup for health reasons, I'd love to hear your story in the comments. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye! Alright, I'm just going to dip into the eyeshadows once for hygienic reasons. So I'm going to have to be strategic about this. I want to try this as a crease shade. I've done a very light face makeup, and I've primed my eyes or eyelids with a eyeshadow primer from number 7. Finally, some eyeshadow. Gosh, how much have I missed this? I can't even tell you. I clean my eyeshadow brushes after every single use, so hopefully that's good enough. I want to try out this deep reddish brown shade from Lethal. The first brush I used was from Flare. I can't see a number on this one, but this other one that I'm going to use is from Zoeva. It's the 223 Petite Eye Blender. This looks so nice. Okay. I'm just very gently dabbing that on, and I want to also work this into my actual crease. Okay, I love this shade. Love it. Exactly. Well, I don't think it will replace the Cocoa Bear because this has way too much red. This looks more like a burgundy red, which I think is a lovely shade. So we'll see if any other shade in my collection will replace my Cocoa Bear. Because if not, I'm going to have to try to find something, some dupe or some replacement for that, because that's a shade I'm really going to miss. I haven't used any eyeshadow underneath my eyes yet, like I haven't put bronzer there at all, but I want to try this matte green for that. with the Zoeva Detail Shader number 237, a really small, flatter detail brush. All of a sudden, being without eyeshadow for all of these weeks, months, all of a sudden this feels like it's so dramatic. I'm not used to it anymore. And I'm also so used to like dipping into slowly blending and deepening the eyeshadow look. So doing this like once, which I'm not going to do this forever, but I want to be as careful as possible starting out again with eyeshadow. Hopefully this won't irritate my eyes. I do like this green though. It's just very easy to work with. It's not like intensely pigmented, so I like it so far. This one's from Zoeva, Luxe Pencil 230, and I want to use that matte yellow shade. Usually that's like my last step, but let's try it now. I think it's a good thing that this isn't a shimmer because it's so close to the tear duct. I think it's so fun to put yellow in the inner corner, and this is pigmented. Like, you can definitely see that I've applied yellow here, but I like it. Whatever is left, I'm trying to kind of let those two shades meet. Zoeva Luxe Smoky Shader 234, just a regular flat brush. As you might see, or maybe you can tell, that I absolutely love Zoeva eyeshadow brushes. Then I'm going to do that metallic red shade on the outer part of the eye. I always prefer to apply metallic shades with my finger, so I wonder how I'm going to like this. I don't even feel like it distributes very well onto the brush. But it really blends in with the other shade that I've applied. Oh, I really feel like applying an eyeliner. I actually might do that. Then I want to use this is just called Get Lippy. I think this is a Makeup Mecca eyeshadow brush actually. But it's a little bit smaller and more dense. And I'm gonna apply that gold shade on the inner part of my eyes, or my lid. Oh wow, okay. Yeah, definitely not what I was hoping for. I think this could be a nice like topper shade, but that is very patchy. It doesn't really have a base shade, it's just golden glitter. I really don't have a good eyeshadow brush on hand, but let me just do this one. This is not the right one to use. One from Eco Tools. I'm just gonna apply more of that gold shade and put it all over the lid and into that red shade. Oh, that's so pretty, but it's not what I was looking for. It's not what I was hoping this eyeshadow would be, but it is still really pretty. Okay. This is something I would apply on Christmas Eve. It doesn't have a lot of fallout, but there is some. I also have Pillow Talk with lipstick and lip liner on my lips today, and I have Hope, the blush Hope, which I applied on several hours ago, so it's probably gone by now. I've really been filming this video all day, but I'm really glad I finally got to try these shades out. I've been so looking forward to it. Let me just apply some mascara and a little bit more blush, and I'll be right back. Alright, that is my finished look. I did apply way too much. A lot more blush from number 7, Damps and Mist, I think it's called. And I applied some mascara, and I did end up applying my repurchase of the Gold Digger eyeliner from Makeup Store. I just could not resist. So that is my finished look. I hope you enjoyed this video. I've already done an outro, but thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. So, bye. See you next time.